Don't settle for an ordinary date night. Spend your time together in a world away at La Crosse's newest gem, Christos Taverna, an ultra-modern hideaway with an old European soul. You and your special someone can relax with globally imported wine and spirits while chatting with other couples, or slip into the Mediterranean lounge for quiet conversation away from other ears. Enjoy Greek appetizers with your cocktails and make every moment count on your vacation from the ordinary. Christos Taverna, a world away on 3rd Street, La Crosse.
Outstanding. And here we are, Cultured Swine Podcast. How's it going, everybody?
Hey.
This is a big one. This is exciting. We're excited here. We got Terry Bauer here, mayoral candidate Terry Bauer for the city of Onalaska.
Director of Fun, Terry Bauer.
Director of Fun.
Yes.
Director of Fun. So this is the first time we've actually met face-to-face. I mean, obviously the legends are true, and I'm talking about for me, on my behalf, because obviously you've heard of me.
Totally.
But
I've been a little curious why you haven't asked me to be here before. I feel slighted.
Well, we wanted to make sure that it was New Year, the first big one of the year, so that's why we waited. And I had a suspicion that you'd be running for office soon, so that's what I was kind of waiting for.
Are you a soothsayer?
Yeah.
No, I'm just that smart, and ask anybody. Smart and humble.
Do you live in Onalaska?
I do not, unfortunately.
I got to leave. Sorry. I only can talk to constituents.
There's one right here. So
Dan, I need your vote.
yeah, I didn't realize we're about 5 blocks away from each other.
Oh, excellent.
So once we put your notice out, I saw your address, so now everyone knows where you live. So they can
marked,
come knock on your door.
Marked man.
Right.
So if you win, is there a mayor's mansion?
Yeah, there is.
There is?
Yeah. It's rather palatial.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't gotten the address yet.
It's the bed and breakfast on 2nd.
Could be.
That's nice. They got a nice view.
I think I'm in the garage behind it.
Okay, yeah.
that tracks. That makes sense.
I think, and there's a limo, private jet.
Yep.
It's quite a bit of amenities because Onalaska is kind of like a hip city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got to get between Holman and the Holman Airfield and the La Crosse Airport, you need that jet.
Time is money.
Necessary. Yep, absolutely.
Well, cool. So before we get into all of that, the mayoral stuff, you've got a ton of other things that you've done in your life that you've talked about, or that you've done. The Moon Tunes is what sticks out for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because it's beyond my expectations.
I remember. When did that start?
2012.
Okay. Yeah.
Noon Tunes.
Okay. It was that was right around the time I got out of the Navy in 2010, and I lived in Melrose, and we moved to La Crosse in 2012. So I've seen it from the very beginning, and the way it's people just took to that like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's a full on. I'm honestly surprised that there's not that nobody's tried to seriously capitalize and make a ton of money off this thing. I love that it's a free event still, and that it's a community event. And what led to starting that?
I'd visited my son in Seattle. He lives in Gig Harbor, Washington, and I went to Seattle, and they were playing music at lunch downtown Seattle. The streets are like San Diego or San Francisco.
Yeah.
So they're steep going down to Puget Sound. So the band's down here, street goes up. They closed off the street. You're sitting there looking out at Puget Sound. And I'm going like, we got the Mississippi. We could do this in La Crosse.
Yeah.
Was that down on the pier, right in the waterfront there? Yeah.
But yeah, near the waterfront.
Sure. I went to art school in Seattle and spent I spent a lot of time in Seattle, and that was one of the great things about that town.
I don't know how you could not spend time. It's a beautiful city.
So great. So you saw that and said, "Hey, we've got the raw material here."
So I called up Gar Admonson at City Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And pitched my idea to him, and he goes, "We're in, we're solid." So I started talking to the bands and got a whole mess of. I mean, we went from like first week of June, all the way to like September, right up to Oktoberfest, the first year. The challenge was most of the musicians had day jobs and they had to take off of work.
Sure.
They're on the stage with no roof. It's concrete. We're frying eggs.
Mm-hmm.
The attendance is very transient.
Mhm.
People have half hour for lunches. Many people came and didn't go back to work. That caused problems. So the band said, why don't we do nights? So I called the city and said, can we move to nights? And they go, Wednesday nights concert band, but you could have Thursday nights. And you're really right, Gus. When maybe 3 years ago we really hit our stride. Bill Miller's usually been one of our bigger concerts. And right after Bill Miller, the crowds didn't drop off. They historically dropped off. Not anymore. And then, of course, the season finale is enormous.
Oh, yeah.
And we moved it to Saturdays.
Yep.
Huge thing for us to do. And when I pitched that to the city, Jay Odegaard looked at me and goes like, how would I say no? Look at all these people out here. Have a riot.
Right?
Well, and it's amazing how the city embraced it and grew around it as well. When you with support, like Pearl Street Brewery being a major supporter of it, and the city just really being flexible with the idea of it, and as it grew and got bigger. So
Yeah, because Steve Caroline said, we could do this ourselves. But
well, and that
we
was
don't have the manpower, we don't have the energy, we don't have the time. So you're doing it for us. And you're really right, Dan. I wanted to have it special, so that's why I contacted Chef Chris, who's a friend of mine. I've been in the restaurant business my whole life, working for Reinhardt Foods.
Yep.
So Chris and I were friends. I said, Chris, I want to have I don't want food trucks. I don't want a corn dog on a stick. No offense, Gary Rudy. But I want something special, and get a great meal for $5. And Joe and Tammy said, hey, we want to do the beer. We can do wine twice a year, so we're working with Lost Lake.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or is it
Lost Island.
Lost Island Wine, Onalaska.
In Alaska. Todd and Jennifer, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, of course, Pearl Street Brewery. TJ helps me book the band, so we had to bring the Pearl Street ice cream up.
Oh, sure.
So I get offers every year, and I do need to follow up with somebody I haven't responded back to yet. But every year people want to join the group, and I'm really keeping it loyal to who helped us build, who's our partners.
Right.
I owe them a sense of loyalty.
Sure.
And the bands, I was just talking to TJ, who helps book the bands, Petersley. We have like 61 bands that are on our list to play,
Wow.
and we only have so many Thursdays.
Yeah.
Right.
So the challenge is squeezing them all in, and of course we have weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year we're having some exciting things. I'm working with Dr. Kelly Barr right now to do a Thursday night Irish Fest kickoff.
Okay.
So we would start Irish Fest in Riverside Park on Thursday night with one of the Celtic bands, have the VIP party there. Then Friday they would transfer up to Oktoberfest grounds
Sure.
for Irish Fest.
Yeah.
I'm working with Eva Marie Ristel on the Lacrosse Symphony. I'm going to do a symphonic night with a rock band, so like Tommy from the Who,
nice.
or Moody Blues, or the Beatles, or I think we could have a really fun night. So
Mm-hmm.
I started to check their library to see what they have for music, because I don't want to buy a lot of charts. So there's a number of things we're doing that'll be different for this year. I think our Woodstock night will be still Woodstock, but we're going to throw a little twist in there. I was talking to Mario about doing live bike aid
Oh, there you go.
and do kind of the light aid music.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm working. Oh, and this is the other thing we came up with this year. I called Mario and I said, I talked to Steve Caroline about putting bike racks in the park, and he goes, we're going to do some stuff for the park. Don't put racks in yet, but you could do a bike corral.
Yeah.
So I called Mario and I said, could we do a bike corral? And he called me back like in 20 minutes. Goes, done deal. We're on board. We got myself, Randy and Eric from Smith's Bike Shop, and Paul and Liz from Blue Steel Bike.
Mm-hmm.
So this year we're going to raffle off 3 e-bikes.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be kind of another revenue stream fundraiser for us. So you can buy maybe a $5 ticket, and we'll give away every 4 weeks a nice e-bike.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of cool.
There will be.
And that includes a helmet and a lock, so you can keep it safe, and maybe lights.
Yeah.
And I'm
not
sure-
cable lock, though.
No. Mario's very picky about his bike locks. You mentioned weather. Is it safe to say, as of, I don't want to jinx it, but as of this most recent year, we've finally broken the Thursday night rain curse?
We had every concert in. The year before was 4 canceled.
Wow, yeah.
4.
Yeah.
And that kills you.
Yeah,
It
that's
does.
rough.
We normally don't book the bands again, but then we started trying to do Wednesday nights after the concert band in August. So we do a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back, and that worked a little bit.
Sure.
And then the one night, the jazz orchestra got rained out, which I think Greg Belfany was rained out like 3 times in a row. But Weber Center was available, and he brings musicians in from all over the country.
Yeah.
So Greg says, we got to get these guys. I mean, they can't come back. They're here now.
Right.
So we moved to the Weber Center, and that was a great concert
Yeah.
indoors.
Man, and that's a great space too.
It was fabulous.
I think we've got kind of an embarrassment of riches lately in lacrosse of people who want to help and who want to grow the cultural scene.
Right.
I say, people like yourself, people like Mario Yoakum, Don Weber, all folks, who,
So now we got one guy with money and two guys with time.
exactly.
Um,
All of which are welcome to come and do the podcast anytime they want. Just let me know.
the word's out. And then we brought Marty Severson in, which was fabulous. Brucey Bumchuck was
Oh yeah.
bringing him
Yep.
in was a great thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
So he does a really good job on emceeing our parts, emceeing the nights.
Yep.
And then when the city started building the band stage,
Yeah.
we knew they couldn't do the band shell that we wanted,
Right.
so we joined that consortium.
So
And,
that's
It's nearly completed.
okay. I was going to say it's nearly completed. Is it fully funded now, or
Yes.
it is? Okay. So I remember hearing that it was fully funded, and I was curious. My understanding is we're going to move on to supporting other projects now, other
Correct.
local. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to transition from Lacrosse Band Shell Consortium to Friends of Riverside Park.
Okay.
And we want to do the bathrooms, make the bathrooms a little nicer.
Yes.
Nice, yeah.
And a storage shed, some type of storage unit, because the storage was in the old band stage in the basement. That
Yep.
was damp and dark and
Full of chairs.
cavernous. But we need to put the chairs back in there,
Right.
and the risers and different things. So,
Mhm.
actually, we're meeting with the city on January 24th to talk about that, transitioning to the next phase.
There we go. I'm just, for some reason, it sounds like your mic might be a little low. I was just doing a little adjust in there. Sorry.
Should we start over?
There we go. Yeah, maybe if, like I said, these are omnidirectional. Maybe just tilt down a little bit more.
Right.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm used to moving around, looking at you guys. I can't do that if I keep my mouth down. Yeah.
Right.
I know we're next on. We just got these cool new booms, and next on the agenda is we're gonna get some more studio mics like the one behind me there, and those are a lot better. And They pick up a lot better. But unfortunately, we're not on we don't have the budget of your pal Rick Solom over there, who you're heading over to see next, right?
Oh, he's got like duct tape on his.
I have those. Some of those are a little questionable.
Yeah, the rubber bands.
Yeah,
holding
a little bit better infrastructure, but
Yeah.
we can. I'll be sure to give him some crap and say we got Terry Bauer first. So
You did get the exclusive.
not that you've never
Yeah.
been in that studio before, but since
Right.
your candidacy announcement. So
Yeah, well, I was there, but I told Mike Hayes not to bring that up yet because it was
Right.
premature.
Sure.
oh, that must have. That's a lot to ask of him.
So you are official on the ballot now, though, right? You got all the signatures
I
and
turned them in yesterday.
Okay.
And they approved them. And so I will be on the preliminary ballot on February 18th. And God willing, when the creek doesn't rise and drown me, I'll make it to the general election April 7th.
sure.
Okay.
So I guess not to jump the gun here, talking jumping into all that. I mean, if you want to get into it, we could start talking now. Why did you choose to throw your hat in?
Dan mentioned it earlier. I was director of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said, you should run for mayor. And after a few years of people saying that, and then when Joe resigned, so that the opportunity was now, the time was now.
Yeah.
So if I don't seize the time now, and when you're younger, you're raising a family, getting your job going, you just don't have extra free time. I'm retired now. I got 2 extra hours a week available. So I thought, why not be a part-time mayor? There we go.
There you go.
Fill those 2 hours up.
Right.
So, I mean, what was the need though? Why did you decide? What was there a pressing issue? I mean, apart from people saying you should be mayor, is there something that really just kind of like I feel like I can do better? Because I mean, I know you as basically the face of Riverfest and a lot of stuff that happens in lacrosse. And I'll be honest with you, until I saw the
Everything happens in lacrosse.
yeah, exactly.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So, and I was looking at your website. You say, they have things that you would like to bring to Onalaska. Make it more of a destination, tourism, things like that. Is that something that's heavy on your mind that you would like to do for the city?
I was on the Lacrosse Convention Visitors Bureau during the period when Onalaska and Lacrosse merged their 2 tourism offices.
Okay.
Sometimes I think when that occurred, Onalaska kind of became a stepchild. And before we had our own voice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now we are part of a bigger voice, and sometimes I think we get lost in the shuffle. And I think we have 40 acres of land right below the new Marvin Wanderers. Construction going on from 360 on 2nd Street.
Right there across from the new park, the Dash Park?
Yeah, if you go
Okay.
down over the hill,
Right.
there's 40 acres down there on the Black River.
Okay.
And my girls and I hung out there a lot when Todd Edwards owned it. And it's just fabulous. And I thought that'd be a nice park that if we developed it into a park for biking, and the bike trails go all the way up,
Right.
of course, to Trempealeau and beyond. And if you go south, we can connect to the new Eagle Park on the Bridgefield Plaza, and then
Yep.
continue all the way down to Riverside. So it's the connectivity. I was able to build a lot of coalitions to get the band shell done and work with the city of La Crosse. And you're really right, Gus. When I looked at my resume, everything was La Crosse. Everything.
Sure. Well, luckily, a lot of those skills transfer over to other cities.
There's a language barrier. So I gotta
Sure,
work
yeah.
through that.
Of course, a little bit of a culture differential, but in reality, it is the same community. A lot of people who live in Onalaska work in La Crosse, or sometimes vice versa. There's no shortage of major business in Onalaska. I think people kind of forget dating myself a little bit, but the old argument of is the mall in La Crosse or is the mall in Onalaska? Well, the mall's on one side and all of the other businesses are on the other, so you can't argue with those. And obviously, the Skogans have been big supporters, helping to put the park in.
Absolutely.
So I know there's music there Tuesday nights now. I don't know how established that is. I think we were kind of trying to feel it out last year.
Second or third year.
Okay, and is that David Ray's, Matt Boschka, are they doing that, or is that completely separate?
Dave's admin assistant, Maggie, kind of did it the first year, and she reached out to me because of my band contacts, and I helped her get set up with some bands the first year.
Right.
And then they turned it over to the Onalaska Rotary Club that meets at the La Crosse Country Club.
Okay.
And I think Sean McAllister is their president right now. And they're calling it Downtown Sound, and now they just changed the name again to something else. So there's been a lot of inconsistencies.
Sure.
And it's hard to get traction when you're
Right.
changing kind of who you are and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Dave Scogan yesterday, and he said, maybe you could help bring some of the Moon Tune ideas to them and help kind of raise it up. And then also use the park for additional things beyond just that.
Yeah.
Because it is a beautiful park. It's been a great asset for the community.
Yeah. I could see that becoming something bigger with the vision that you have for that area down by the spillway. I think of that back in 30 years ago when I used to go with my father fishing down there.
Yeah.
Fishing up the spillway with crappies and sunfish and that. But turning that into something larger, still having that aspect, but then almost like a two-stage setup there. If there was a festival event,
Right.
obviously we're crossing a major road there, but there's a stoplight. They'll
Yeah.
stop.
And then I was
Hopefully.
talking to Joel Chilson about who put those pylons up on the road that prevent you from driving down there now.
Oh.
He thought that was a railroad. There's an unmarked train crossing,
Mhm.
Okay.
so they put these two posts up in the middle of the road so you can't drive. Because people drove down there to fish, we drove down there to kayak.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. I remember going down there
Now you
fishing
can't
all the
drive
time.
Down there anymore.
Those two
No kidding.
cement pylons down there?
Well, they're posts.
Oh, okay.
3-4 foot posts, so you can't drive your car in between them.
Well, hopefully, whoever the next mayor is can get that sorted out. Jeez.
Well, if it's a priority for them,
Right.
I do have a cutting torch.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
So
That reminds me, when you're mayor, you can do those things. But sometimes if you have enough money in town, you can do those things too. A story I was told when I first started at LHI, when they were talking about parking and that, and with the orientation and where to park, and then and how they have a lot of free parking down there for the Kaplan, LHI, SAP employees, and how the city was going to start charging for parking in the one big free ramp, and they put a sign up letting people know and giving them notice. But the way it's told, and I'm sure this is one of those tall tales that really has stretched over the years, but the way it's told now is when they put that city up, Don Weber himself took an extension ladder out there and a cutting torch and cut the sign down himself and took it back to the city. So nope, it's never going to be charged parking for my employees.
Right. And I think that's one thing I want to bring to the table is that the city is more conscious of the voters and the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, well, I shouldn't generalize, but I'm going to. oftentimes it seems like the council or the government looks out for themselves. They're not looking out for their constituents.
Right.
So the decisions they make aren't always right for the people that put them there. And I want to make sure that they have more of a voice. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to politics. You know, they vote and they go on and do their life. And then when something comes up, they got to contact the city and they go like, oh, this is a terrible experience.
Right.
Oh,
Who do I call?
I didn't enjoy that. So how do we make that better? And I think part of that would be increasing the transparency, doing things like this where you get more of a word out that people can access and listen to and learn. And I'm the only novice on the ballot.
Sure.
Okay.
The other three are political veterans. So I think that gives me an advantage because I want to come in with fresh ideas and not any type of owing somebody something because I'm part of a political network.
Right.
I'm kind of a instigator, I call it.
Community figure, we call them.
Yeah.
or as you say, servant leader.
Servant leader.
So
Yes.
when you approach something like this, though, I mean there is something to be said for having a little bit of acumen. I mean, obviously you're used to dealing with people in city government and things like that.
It's painful.
It is, but in any position of leadership, you got to know your limitations, and that's one thing I learned early on in the military was, you know what you can do, but also know who you can ask to do the stuff you don't know how to do. And being able to kind of, like Dan used the word servant leadership, to be able to kind of approach it with humility and say, I'm the leader, but I also know that I'm not just going to charge headlong in here and let the chips fall where they may. Being able to surround yourself with trusted advisors, trusted people that that can get the job done for you on your behalf. And that's and I think that's when you say a novice, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, you have fresh ideas. You're not beholden to anybody, but also knowing that when the chips are down, you know where to turn to get stuff done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's a stigma with people in leadership that I got to have every answer all the time, and I don't think that should be true, to be honest.
And I was VP of sales at Renner Foods for quite a few years, and I traveled corporately for them for 11 years. When I came back to the division, they broke out an old picture of me and my sales team. We had about 80 salespeople, including managers. And the VP of sales that's there now said, "Why are you in the back of the group?" We were outside in the plaza at the convention center. I said, "I was at the back of the group because every one of those people in front of me, they're the ones that get the job done. It wasn't me. My job was to make their job easier, and that's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
How can the police chief, how can the fire chief, how can the Parks and Rec guy, how can these people be more successful and get their jobs done?" And I look at, you're too young for this, but live long and prosper. Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk was my hero.
Uh-huh.
Captain Kirk was not, the most. He wasn't like brilliant in charge, but he had Spock and McCoy, and all those guys that helped him accomplish their goals of traversing the universe for 3 years. And I look at that's the way I want to lead: is surround yourself. Gus, you mentioned it a minute ago. You put the right people in the right places on the bus, and the bus travels really well.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be one of my keys. And of course, I cannot put the people on the Common Council. The voters do that. And I think the Common Council is good, and I think I can work with them.
Yeah,
I really do. But I think I need to bring a vision, and it's premature right now. I need to listen to the voters and find out what are their concerns and how we can address them. I kind of use PAR as my philosophy. PAR like golf.
Okay.
So what's PAR? Well, PAR is what's the problem, what's the action that addresses the problem, and then what are the results. So if we identify the problem, we get great solutions, and we can actually execute those solutions, and we have good results. So I try to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from Mr. Reinhardt. He always asked us when he came to talk to us, he goes, "The decision you made, is it good for your customers? Or you have the tools and training to get your job done, and are you having fun?" It's that simple. We don't have to create some type of real intricate business model.
Sure.
people make work out of nothing sometimes. Just keep it simple. So right now I'm listening, gathering information, so I can make good proposals that then people can kind of come around and grasp and say, yeah, we want to do that. We want to make the Omni Center a little busier than it is now, because it's those types of events are, they're close to break even or in the red. What can we do to help the Omni Center? What can we do for economic development? Second Street has really come a long ways.
Yeah.
And there's additional opportunities within the community. So there's some things. Onalaska is far from broke. It's running great. It's a good operation. It's a good city. It's a great place. I mean, we moved here in '97 because of the schools, the safety, the roads. I mean, you drive on our roads, and you come to La Crosse, you go like, really? Is it that much different?
They do so well with the roads that they apparently have room for. There's a picture on the sewer covers. The manhole covers. Thank you. I saw some roads blocked off the other day. I'm like, what are they doing? And then a few weeks later, I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty.
Put the little map on there. Is that what they got?
It's the symbol or the seal of the city.
It's got like like waves of rain or something. Or
the fish. Yeah.
But you're right. But I don't think we call it man cover anymore, can we? In the new world,
it's a person cover.
Person cover.
Yes. People cover.
An access portal.
There you go.
I like access portal.
That's fair.
There we go.
You have to be careful on some of that political stuff. I'm more along the lines of, is it Ricky Gervais?
Gervais, yeah.
I think I'm in his camp.
Yeah, well, we
George
had
Carlin,
talked about that. My friend Travis was in a couple weeks ago, and we talked about that, and that you just got to not care. And then Ricky went over, I don't care. I just don't care. And I think you just got to kind of run over the knee jerk reaction. Now, a lot of times when you get into it, like things like political correctness and things like that, generally it's only like the 1% of people that are complaining or who have the voice. So that's generally not the consensus.
We used to be able to laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, and that's fine.
I don't think it's bad.
No.
So that's where we're at with that.
Yeah.
With the mayoral race. So
right.
I would like to certainly ask all my Onalaska residents who are voting age to vote. And if they have Chicago ties, vote often.
Vote early, vote often.
Well, and it's important too. Local politics are important, and I think in the age of media, sometimes sensationalism, we're really focused on a lot more of the national ones or the statewide ones, the senatorial elections, and in that and the focus. I don't know. I know I couldn't, and I don't know if you can name half of your council members.
Just the one that I'm always picking on. But
he's doing something else now. I just heard his name on the radio this morning.
Yeah,
but
they're doing something with whatever.
Yeah, but that's to my point. Well, that's a whole other conversation. Is people aren't as focused on the local politics, the politics that affect their daily lives. You were talking about a minute ago of having a good experience trying to work with the city, and I'm a fairly new homeowner. I'm in my third year now. I'm in Onalaska, but we're right on 9th Avenue South, which is a super highway between Main Street and the high school. And it is, I was trying to find who I needed to talk to get the bottom of the hill where Green meets 9th turned into a 4-way. It's a 2-way right now, but you can go right through 9th and you don't have to stop. And, the high school kids are going to be high school kids. But just trying to slow that traffic down a little bit.
Are you south of Main?
We're on the 100 block south of Main. So.
All right.
He's going to send some folks over.
I just want a 4-way stop there, so just to slow it down a little. It's also a pretty busy intersection for kids walking to the elementary school too. So there's that safety to consider as well. And
well, kind of to your point, I think when you're talking about local government, and I think this is the best representation of that idea of representative government, where you're not going to get this in a big, you're not going to be able to sit and talk to the mayor, even the mayoral candidate like this. Like I hit you on Facebook, and that's how we made the connection. But like I don't know how many times I've written somebody like Ron Kind or even the mayor or the governor of the state or whatever. You're not going to get a personal response from folks like that unless you happen to run into Ron Kind on the street, in which
airplane.
exactly where he'll shake your hand and take the selfie and then kindly tell you to screw, in the nicest way possible, I'm sure. But in this case, where in small town where you have a lot more control because, I mean, if you're going to be the mayor of a town of like Onalaska, you're going to see your constituents every day. You're going to be at the grocery store or walking around or just down or whatever. Same in La Crosse. I see Mayor Cabot around all the time. When he was running for re-election, he actually went door to door with his signatures. Hey, would you mind? And I thought that was great. And even if I didn't happen to like the guy, I would have signed it because I think that's, that's being active in your government, in your democracy locally. That okay, I may not like your policies, but I'm going to sign that paper because hey, good luck to you. Let Lady Liberty make the decision and not somebody that if I believe in something that you don't believe in, I hope my ideas are.
So do you like unicorns?
Do I like unicorns? No, I'm not a big fan of unicorns.
All right. So we may be on the same page,
Okay,
Gus.
good. I didn't realize that was a hot button issue, to be honest.
You don't live in Onalaska.
Oh, I suppose. Can I get? Do you need some water or something?
You know what I like? I think the government that's closest to the people, like you just said,
Yeah.
Gus, that's when you get to Madison or you get to Washington, D.C., they're so disengaged. And anytime you contact them, you get a form letter back like,
Yeah.
we love you. But, and then what I don't like is they can tell you they're going to do one thing, and then when you look at the voting record, they go like,
Right.
wait a minute, you told me you were going to do this.
Mhm.
There's no accountability because they're so immune from those things.
Mhm.
At the local level, you're more accountable because you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
You might see me at the grocery store. You might see me at the Y. You might see me somewhere. You can say, hey, what's up, Bauer? What are you doing?
Sure.
This idiot.
When your limo slows down at the when they do the roadblock.
Well, if we're going down
Hopefully.
9th, we'll be going fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, at least 35. If you, I use the FedEx driver as the bar.
Yeah.
If you're going slower than him, then you're okay.
Well, we're putting a train whistle on the limo, so they'll be sure to hear us
Nice.
coming.
Nice.
Oh man, that you don't live in Onalaska, but you can hear that train everywhere. I don't. Know
I can hear it in La Crosse.
Well, but it's just it gets really loud
I
at
think
night.
La Crosse has a lot more silent crossings. On Alaska, we still got
Oh.
a couple where we got to blow the horn.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Personally, Dan, I love it.
Do you?
I grew up a block from the railroad tracks in my hometown,
Okay.
and I just don't even notice it. But when I hear it, I'm like, that's our economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's America. Trains built our country. When you look at, from covered wagons to the iron horse, when the trains started going.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an affinity to trains, planes, and automobiles.
Here you go. You're going the wrong
Yeah.
way.
So.
How do they know where we're going?
Yeah.
That was such a clever line.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know where we're going?
I love that movie. I miss John Candy so much.
Oh.
I wish he was still around. Imagine what he'd be doing right now if he were still alive. But I guess
You'd have all John Goodman's roles.
I don't know. John Goodman is pretty good
He's versatile.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so primaries coming up,
February 18th.
and then like you said, God and the constituents willing, you'll be on the general in April.
If the stars align,
Yeah.
then it'll be April 7th. It'll be the final.
Excellent.
And like I said, if it's not to be, then it's not to be. I'm fine with it. But I really think I have some things I can bring to the table and provide the community of Onalaska.
Mm-hmm.
So who would be your political appointees?
I haven't got that far.
Yeah.
I need to get elected first.
Yeah.
Gotta get through the
What
primary.
commission would you like to be on, Dan?
Or Entertainment Commission.
Yeah.
Folks. Yeah.
We don't have one of those, but we could start one.
There
to
we
help
go.
The Omni Center.
Yes.
But that is one of the important jobs the mayor has is they do appoint the commissioners on the different commissions. Fortunately, right now we have a solid police chief, a great fire chief, a city administrator. So the key roles in City Hall are filled with Dan with Parks and Rec. We got really great
Yeah.
people running departments,
Yeah.
and I just want to make sure we're fiscally responsible with our taxes. Because as a homeowner, Dan, you see the tax bill.
Oh yeah.
and it's always right before Christmas. I think
It is. We
like,
just got
it's
it.
just terrible. I'm like, hey, Merry Christmas! Oh,
There you go.
rats.
So, like towns that we've seen obviously in the past. I mean, I moved to Wisconsin. My family did in 1989. I was in 8th grade, and I remember being able to drive between Holmen and La Crosse, and it was that road there is just there's nothing. Well, now Holmen is growing like a weed. Onalaska, to a point, there has been some attrition. Things with like Amazon and shopping with things like the businesses out.
Retail is a struggle.
Retail is
Yeah.
kind of struggling, but there's been a lot of opportunity for small business. And I've noticed that a lot, particularly in the areas we were talking in Second and Main, that area down in Onalaska. I think people are starting to want that small business shopping experience versus nothing against the Valley View Mall or any of those businesses out on 16, the box stores, things like that, because there's a place. But in La Crosse here, you could see it just walking around. A lot of small businesses, a lot of little niche things and they're thriving too. So, in Onalaska, is there something? I guess what could we do to foster that type of community with small business community in Onalaska?
I think we just need to work with them and help them get established. I know my uncle. I grew up in Durand, a small town north of here on the Chippewa River.
Okay.
And we had one grocery store. When I was a kid, we had 5. And the town's always been right around 2,000 people. And my uncle was the mayor, and Jerry goes, you're in the food business with Reinhardt. We need another grocery store. I said, Jerry, this is the way it works in capitalism.
Yeah.
If there's a need, they'll put a store here. But businesses look at it, guys look at it and say, if we're going to put money into this, what's my return on that investment?
Yeah.
It's just not there. Dan mentioned it a minute ago. People are much more mobile today.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Onalaska, a lot of people work in La Crosse. I mean, think about it. Gunderson, Franciscan, Technical College, UW La Crosse, Viterbo. A lot of those people live in Onalaska but drive into work. So they're also sometimes doing their shopping on their way home and don't necessarily shop in their hometown.
Right.
And people from Durand were going to Eau Claire to Menominee.
Yeah.
And so they just quit shopping in Durand, and the whole town just kind of dried up. So you have to make it attractive for people to want to put their business there. And when you see things like the Gap closing and all these stores closing, TGIF, I mean, there's a lot of empty buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what do we do with those buildings? And how do we repurpose them? What can we do?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that need to be working on, and that's where the collaboration would come in. I don't have the little magic wand that says this is going to happen. Anything that we do is probably going to take years to implement.
Yeah.
But we have to make that landscape attractive for people to come and having a good place for people to reside, to move. What did you move there, Dan? What did you move to Onalaska?
Why? Kids have always been in the Onalaska School District when we rented.
Okay.
I grew up in Holmen. Went to Holmen all my life. The last 2 years I lived in Galesville, but still stayed and came to Holmen. Didn't necessarily want to have my kids in the exact same spot. I wasn't looking for that generational thing that had started to develop in my family, but didn't want to leave. So Onalaska was the next logical choice because for some reason I didn't want to live in La Crosse. There was really nothing against La Crosse, but it didn't feel like
Didn't fit.
it could be home where Onalaska did. So.
And I
Plus,
think
you're not cool enough to live in La Crosse. Is part of the.
so that's one of the reasons that we want to make it not only attractive for businesses but also for families.
Yeah.
And housing. Talking to the superintendent of schools, there's some families in Onalaska which you would not think are homeless.
Sure.
Right.
I never knew that, and I want to work in collaboration with the school district and how can we improve, because I think if the kids get a good start in life, that they'll be more successful, and when they start behind the 8 ball,
Right.
it's harder to climb out of that hole.
Oh yeah, that's well documented. That the socioeconomically, that curve gets pretty sharp when you don't have the basic needs being met.
Yep.
Luckily, I think there's a lot of people not only in government in this area, but just normal everyday Joes that like to give back, and I really feel like there's more of a sense of community here than a lot of places. I've lived in a ton of different places across the country, and you just don't see what we have here on that micro level. Overall, a lot of this is my community, this and that, and there are good people everywhere. But I think we have a good base for people to work with, and always for throwing ideas.
This is one of the most philanthropic areas I know.
Yeah.
It's got to be tops in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
So we did fight the flood. Andy Hughes called and said we got to do another Moon Tunes to combat and help our flood victims.
That was
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then so I called Pat Stevens. I said we want to do a Moon Tunes fundraiser. And he goes, well, Moon Tunes is 5:30 to 8. Ain't gonna raise any money. We got to start at 6 and go to midnight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we did, and we targeted $150,000. Perfect weather.
Mm-hmm.
Great support. We had less than 2 weeks to put it all together. And I was on the board at Oktoberfest, so the tent was still up. So I asked the board, could you guys waive the rental fee, as an in-kind donation? And so the 150 target we blew out of the water
Yeah.
was 224.
Man, that was great.
Every single dollar went to a family in the area that was impacted by the flood.
Yeah, I saw Andy shared the breakdown of it because
Yeah.
apparently there was a lot of questions about where it was
Yep.
going, and he provided that, and it was amazing.
It was. Rotary absorbed the costs for handling the money and all the stuff that needed to be done. So they absorbed all those costs. And so it all went to people, and we gave them the money right away. 'Cause we were going to the FEMA meetings down there in Westby, and it was months and years before they got any money from those
Yeah.
government agencies. We put our money in their hands within 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They had money. Now, not a lot. I mean, I think everybody just got like maybe $1,000 or $2,000.
But
But
that's
if you need to buy a furnace because
Yeah.
Your furnace got wet and you
Yeah.
need a furnace,
Mhm.
you need heat over the winter. We couldn't wait.
right.
So I see that. I see the donations people gave to the band shell. That's all private money. We're probably going to get close to $1 million on the donations.
Nice.
Which is why we're going to transition to Friends of Riverside Park
Sure.
Right.
to continue enhancing the park, and I think it's one of the best parks along the river. There's no other city on the Mississippi River anywhere from Lake Itasca to New Orleans that has a park on both sides of the river.
Mm.
And we have Pettibone and
Yeah.
Riverside,
Yeah, that's
and Riverside is one of the best parks. You go to Red Wing, they got levees and dikes, and Winona's got levees and dikes.
right.
We're right on the water.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's I miss that from working downtown, and my physique misses that too. Because just on a lunch, going out, taking a jog around the park, taking your time and you can go all the way up to right along the La Crosse River. You can go around over to Pettibone. I mean, the bridge is set up so you can pedestrians and that can jog around or walk and that. And it's
And we're blessed in
yeah,
this area.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the downtown area too is great. But focusing on Alaska, which is where you're going to be, hopefully be the next mayor. I think that's like we said, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
I'm sacrificing a virgin tonight.
Goat's blood.
Yeah.
Couple chickens.
Can you, I've been curious. Can you have chickens? I know there's some weird ordinances about that, and I've wanted
I
chickens.
know the
but
town of Onalaska you can have chickens. I don't know about the city.
okay, in my previous residence, we had some tick issues, and I was
Lacrosse-
thinking.
Lacrosse has chickens.
Okay.
Just no
Like that.
roosters,
Just-
I think, is the.
I think that is one
Yeah.
of the things. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I don't get up that early. So
My
anyway,
neighbor-
where were we going when
Yeah.
I started talking about chickens?
I don't know. Dan has this
hopefully he-
habit of just throwing a wrench in
Oh.
anything we're talking about.
Well,
And
My superpower is derailing conversations.
yeah,
so.
and I got HDCQPRTs myself, so I don't focus very well.
what does that stand for?
I have no clue.
Okay. That's that
Alphabet
that affliction where you make up acronyms.
I need to stay on task, and I'm just having some fun here, so
Oh, absolutely.
deviating a little bit.
Right.
So I think one thing I'm just going to throw some ideas at you here.
Okay.
Here's what we're going to do downtown Onalaska.
Yeah.
We shut the main street down every Saturday morning, and have a farmers market / car show. Have all the cars coming
Okay.
with I mean, you're hitting every demographic there. You
Get a
got
lot of Corvettes.
Oh, Corvette, yeah. What else? What else can we do down there?
I want to have a fireman's ice cream social.
There you go.
There you go.
You know what?
Okay.
Those were always great. You know,
I think so.
I remember when I was a kid, when we first moved here, because I grew up in Texas, and all those little towns in Texas, there was nothing like we have here in Wisconsin. Like every town has its own. You know, like you have Spahn, Ferkel, Mindoro, or North Bend Days, or whatever. But almost all those towns, like you go to Galesville Days, or is it Galesville Days? Is that what they do it out there?
Galesville actually does not.
Not Galesville. I'm thinking
they're so
Trempealeau.
close to
They have
Catfish
Trempealeau
Days.
County.
Yeah, Catfish Days.
I'm thinking
is-
Catfish Days, whatever.
Trempealeau, but
Either way,
Galesville has the Trempealeau County Fair.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, but like you said, the fireman's dance and ice cream social, man,
Wouldn't that be
those
fun?
were great.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
and well, you could do that right there on Main Street too.
Well,
That'd
we
be
have to
awesome.
do Dash Park.
Yeah.
Utilize that park more now. We have that park there. It's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
We could put up a little Christmas village.
Oh, there you
during
go.
the holidays.
Okay. Cool.
Have a little Christmas.
That tree
village
was
down there.
amazing. That
That
was
tree's amazing, and
yeah.
they took it down like right now.
Yeah.
instantly.
It was like it was
Yeah.
like Santa wasn't even back to the North Pole yet. Trees down.
They don't. Do they still? They don't do Sunfish Days anymore, do they?
No, that's
But
kinda gone away.
They kind of have that community.
American Legion Days.
Yeah, I really like that. The kind of community aspect of it, where you still get the, the feel of it. And
Right.
Well, that's one thing I look at Moon Tunes. The way I look at Moon Tunes is you're inviting people to your backyard for a barbecue.
Yeah.
Come on over. We're gonna have a barbecue. Sit in the river. Have some great music, some good food, and just enjoy the camaraderie that you're talking about, Gus.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Where everybody's. I mean, we don't. If you've been down there, we don't have any security. We don't have any police, and we got a couple of thousand people or more. It's
It's not necessary. It's
No.
it's just
People-
everybody.
when. How much time do we have left? I got-
And
Well,
I hope-
as much as we need
so,
to.
Yeah.
So when I started the beer tent, I put up the beer garden,
Yeah.
and then I don't always follow rules, so I didn't have any security. So people bought a beer and walked out, and then joined the other people in the park who had brought their own beers.
Yeah.
So then Terry Lurkey says, because she came out with her husband and she enjoys Moon Tunes, and she goes, we better talk on Friday. So I went to talk to her on Friday, and I said, hey, listen, I'm just a dumb food sales guy selling pickles. What's up with this law? And she goes, well, you got to have security, and you got to stay inside the fence. And I said, this guy's from California. He's at the Charmin. He comes over for Moon Tunes. He goes, like, that guy's got the same beer I got, and I got to stay inside this fence. I said, yeah, you bought it here. He bought his somewhere else. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So through some negotiations and some attorney work and getting Madison involved, we were able to now have the world's smallest beer garden.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
But now this is stupid, too, if I may get on a tangent.
Go.
All right. So the deal was we poured the beer out of the bottle into a cup, and then you can leave. So one night we didn't do the cups. I want to be environmental.
Yeah.
No sea turtle is going to choke on my watch.
River turtles.
Yeah.
Could be a river
Yeah.
turtle or a couple of porpoises.
Ancient
know.
gar fish underneath.
So then Terry Lurkey says, you're supposed to put them in a cup. And I said, well, listen, the beer in the container of the bottom or the beer in the open cup is the same beer, and they're both open containers. So can't we just save the garbage and just go with the bottles? I've got to use the cups. That's what I don't like about government.
Yeah.
They're anal.
I can speak to that exactly what you're talking
With
about
Riverfest.
from Riverfest, because the gripe was, and I was laughing silently so hard because every meeting was about, well, Moon Tunes gets to do it. Like,
We have been held
it's-
up.
Yeah.
But it was more of my argument to that was Riverfest was always very, very. You don't want to step on anyone's toes because they'll pull a liquor license and that type of thing, which is possible, but probably not realistic. But just working with the city, and I know they're working on new rules right now.
Remember last year
No,
at Riverfest?
I actually didn't make it last year.
They had
so.
they had a beer garden, the normal beer garden, where you had to be 21 inside.
Oh, they reorganized the whole thing.
And then
Yeah.
if you bought the canned beer out the other side of the venue,
Right.
you can walk around the park.
That
I'm like, wait a minute.
based directly off of the Moon Tunes model,
It
if
is.
you will.
But, I go to Madison, I go to Milwaukee, I go to other places. They got beer and wine, and people are walking around. There's no fences. They're
Yeah.
just, what I told the city was, if you treat people like animals by putting them in a pen, they're going to act like animals. So you take the fence down, it's a whole different environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people are, I always say, let them be adults, and then if they get out of line, you just talk to those couple people that are out of line and say, hey, knock it off.
Mm-hmm.
And most times people will. We've had very few incidences at the park. The couple people that we had were either drug or drunk were not part of Moon Tunes.
And I apologize for that, by the way. I was out of line.
I really
Great
don't
story,
I didn't want to mention it.
Yeah,
I was trying to protect you. But now that the cat's out of the bag, when they came, the cops go,
Yeah.
this guy's a regular. We know
No,
him.
I get it. No, I own it.
We'll take him to
Frequent
detox
flyer.
and he'll be back on the street tomorrow morning. But I really believe that somewhere along the line, I think government has become a little overbearing and trampled on some of our rights as citizens.
Yeah.
That they don't know what's best for us, and I think we should be able to make our own decisions. And they should just take care of the police, streets, and fire.
Well, there's definitely a need. There's there's got to be somebody there to run administration, clearly. But I do tend to agree with you. I mean, a lot of people that know me outside of all this, and this, I should say, this is the first time we've talked to any kind of politics whatsoever on this
Let's change
podcast.
the topic.
Okay, but anybody who knows me, I'll say, I generally lean a little left, and I like to, I believe in government and things like that. What I don't like is like you hit the nail on the head, the overreach and the kind of the sense of entitlement that comes from working for the government. I saw it all the time in the military. A lot of people think, just because I throw that uniform on, I'm a hero, and it goes to people's heads. I don't agree with that mentality at all. But having that kind of mentality going in, that just because there is a government doesn't mean that I get to tell you what to do. I mean, you're just a normal guy, just like I am. And people who are in those positions, I think, would really do well to remember that. You kind of like they used to do in Rome. The guy they come in on the chariot and have the guy whispering in his ear, "You're just a man. You're just a man." Or what? Memory more. What's the?
It's Latin. So
Yeah, it's Latin.
I don't know Latin.
But
It goes back to the servant leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, that. There, I took note, and I assume this was intentional. That's the first, I guess, thing listed on your website resume is the first of 5 here, and the internet's being a little slow for me. But yeah, very first thing is servant leader. That's
But we want to serve the constituents.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, Dr. Kelly Bauer moved across the street from me when she first came out of med school. And she grew up in Holman. And they always had fire pits, and they had a fun night in the backyard around the fire pit. Well, in Alaska, you couldn't have a fire. So she got a petition together. This is citizen action. Got a petition together, and we got enough signatures to go to the city, and we got it passed where you could buy a permit.
yeah,
I'm like, what do we need a stinking permit for? If you want to have a little fire in your backyard, you should be able to have a fire in the backyard and enjoy your evening. Now, you can't burn garbage. I mean, I don't want you doing that.
Right.
But you have a little fire, make some s'mores, and you shouldn't have to have a government permit to do that.
Well, and I think too, though, the assumption is, unless there's black plumes of smoke coming up, that if someone does, they have a permit. So the policing of that has been pretty minimal, I think.
Well, it has, because when the fire chief said we're going to go around and check everybody who bought a permit, the mayor said, no, you're not. We don't have the money for that.
right.
We're not going to do that. But yeah, we're going to check every permit.
Right. Here's your
To me,
permit.
that's busy work for the government.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that, it should be just totally wide open and people are building, these massive fires, or they've got it too close to the house.
Sure.
Catch their house on fire.
Right.
I mean, there's some idiots out there. That's part of life. But I think we shouldn't treat everybody like that.
Yeah.
We should let
Yeah.
people...
Give benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Say, hey, this guy's a stand-up guy, and they're going to do just fine.
Yep.
Let's
Sure.
get out of their way.
Right.
Let them live their life.
Yeah, we're the constituents, the community members are invested in their community. Where they live there. So they're not going to. Most aren't going to intentionally harm that relationship or that community.
I think you mentioned earlier, Gus, it's like 1% of 1%.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a small number.
Yep.
And you know it when you grew up. I mean, you knew who the bad egg was in your hometown.
Yeah.
Everybody knew them.
Everybody knew him. And it's not any different. But as you get bigger and more kind of disengaged, because the city's bigger and you don't see as many people, people get lost in that shuffle. And you don't recognize those people, but the police do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the police arrest the same guys a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So to transition, a nice transition point here, I think would be the important question that I talked to you about earlier, Gus, that I have for you, Terry, and I wanted to make sure I asked you this because we know who holds the real power in town. Do you think if you're elected, it will help or hurt your chances of becoming a fest master? Because we know those feathers; those are the ones.
Well, I'm not married, so
I don't think I knew that.
You're not in the
You can't?
running for the. I talked to a fest master.
Well, then Commodore. So
Sunday. The Commodores have to be married too.
Good Lord.
Speaking these rules,
Yeah. What's wrong with society today?
right?
But I do have we are engaged,
Okay.
so there could be a time where that. But then I don't know if I become mayor, if that prevents you from.
That was my first thought. Is if I don't know, that's a huge conflict. That's a lot of power in one.
Yeah.
Holding elected office and being a fest master. That's,
Pageantry and elected.
yeah.
King of the world.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Can't
what
wear
could
both the
happen.
crowns at once.
I don't know what. I mean, a lot of things could happen that way, and it may not be good. See,
Right.
that's the other thing that Gus, you talked about a little bit earlier was, people in Madison, people in Washington D.C. get so entrenched,
Yeah.
and I think that's not healthy for a government. I look at servant leadership, but I also look at public service.
Yeah.
We should, as a society, step up and do our part to help the community, and then step aside and let somebody else take the reins. I follow that from Rotary. Rotary, we change presidents every year,
Mm-hmm.
and it brings new ideas, new energy. And I'm not saying government should change every year, but what I'm saying is there should be not career politicians. And anytime you're making $174,000 as a congressman in Washington D.C., and you can walk away with millions of dollars,
Right.
I'm going. Your constituents are making $38,000 back home.
Yeah.
Is that's not? I don't know. Something's broke with that system. I can't change it.
No.
I'm old. I'm going to die. So who cares?
Well, that's a good point though. There's a lot of people that do the saber rattling, talking about we need term limits, and
We have them.
yeah.
Nobody wants to vote them out of office.
Right. That's the thing. Everybody's politician sucks except mine.
Exactly.
That's the mentality.
And you look at the budget they just passed at Washington. I mean, Mitch McConnell's state got millions and millions of dollars for his constituents because he's got the power.
Yeah.
Well, that's not right either.
Well, and obviously, I don't think that it was designed to be like this.
Was not.
You think of these guys that started this country. It was a look. We have to have something. We can't just be running around like a bunch of crazy people over here. We got to have something in place.
But not a king.
We're not a
Right.
king, there has to be some representation. We come in, we do our stuff, and then we're going to go back to our farms and
That's what it's supposed
grow
to be.
hemp and be happy. I think they would be appalled at what it's like now if they came back and say, "How long has that guy been doing that?"
Yeah.
And he's making, "Holy shit, we really dropped the ball. We could have been making bank this whole time." But no, I completely agree with you. So obviously, based on what you're saying here, is become mayor. This
For life.
for life. Oh gosh, okay. That's a bold thing to come right out and say.
No,
Holy crap!
I just want to preface it right away. Once you get in office, you can't get out.
Right. Wait, so we know what we're getting ourselves into here.
I'm looking for my $1 million
Golden parachute.
part-time.
Well, Dan and I also run a lobbyist firm here, so we'll
Yes.
be coming to you regularly.
Not taking any lobby money, sorry.
Public relations, Gus. That's
Yeah,
what we were going to call it.
public relations. That's a totally
Well, that's
different.
a whole different.
Right. See, it sounds so much nicer, doesn't
You
it?
didn't say that.
I'll give you a card before we leave, and we'll talk. But
Yeah. It would be best if you wrote that on the little card as a $50.
there will be
I think I have
zero
one
paper
more
trail.
check left
Yeah,
out
there
there.
you
Yep, there it is.
I learned that's from musicians.
Oh,
You take requests, just write on a $50 bill, drop it off.
Yes.
yeah. I love the guys on Car Talk. They used to do that. Send the answer
Click
to
and
the
clack.
yeah.
I love those guys.
Send it in, on the back of a $50 bill or.
I used to do that on my DJ days, the Music in Motion, when that was still a thing. I was up in Arcadia. I made more in tips taking requests than I did the night just working there. And it was half a joke. I'm like, well, you get on the mic right away. I do take requests. You likely get bumped at the top of the queue if it comes with $1 bill. And they didn't hold back.
10 or
Yeah.
20.
I got the music I want to hear at the house. I don't think I have enough.
I guarantee I didn't have anything you listened to in that library.
So, Gus, what are you listening to?
I listen to a lot of different stuff. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Rage Against the Machine, as you see my picture up there. But I'm a big fan of hip hop. I'm a big fan of hard rock. The other thing, I've been kind of going back to my high school days, the 90s, both alternative rock and like hip or R&B, that type, Boyz II Men, that type of thing. I grew up listening to everything.
But you were in Texas, weren't you, listening to some country?
Not really.
Not
I grew
really.
up in a very, very strict
Baptist?
even more hard, like Pentecostal.
Where were you?
Temple, Texas was the name of the town I grew up
And
in.
where's that?
It's a little south. It's between Waco and Austin. It's right on I-35, right between those two towns, and it's like kind of the buckle of the Bible Belt. It's pretty, one of those, basically a dry town and this and that. So, growing up, I didn't get to listen to a lot of different music. One thing I could listen to was like Motown. My mom didn't have any problem with me listening to Motown, and I think I'm a better person for it. You cannot go wrong with Aretha Franklin and.
I love Motown. And we did a Motown concert a couple years ago
Yeah.
for Moon Tunes.
Yeah.
That was one thing I wanted to have. And
One of the things a few years ago, I used to work for Georgia Power, Southern Company, and we lived in Atlanta, and we did a lot of business in Alabama, and we got to go visit Muscle Shoals, where they recorded all those those classic, Aretha Franklin and things like that, and being in that town, I mean, you can, I don't know, maybe I'm just a kind of a romantic, but you can kind of feel it.
You do.
In that town.
And Cheech just had that great concert at the Weber Center,
Mm-hmm.
the Sun Records.
Yeah.
And that was really good.
The I kind of I tongue in cheek joke a lot about the tribute concerts we have here a lot. It's kind of another tribute. What is the next? We have a tribute to the tribute concert. In fact, I would love to produce something like that. A tribute to the Sun Records tribute. You have a bunch of bands tributing that. Whatever. It's stupid. But we have some of the most talented musicians in this town.
Sure do. When we Dan Sobronic and Mariah and Mary and Hans did the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
I mean, you got goosebumps. Their harmony was over the top good.
Yeah.
And they probably threw it together in 2 practices.
They learned 16 songs. It was a little.
It was 4.
It was pretty lengthy
Right.
to get those songs down. But that's one thing that we've. I mean, this summer we're going to have Irene Keenan's going to do Tina Turner tribute.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
Now Irene's got some org pipes.
Yeah.
And she'll do a fabulous job. People like to come in here. Sometimes they say we should have an original night of music. Well, people like to come and hear what they know.
Right.
And original's good, but they don't know it, and they're sitting like what did I just listen to?
Mm-hmm.
So I think.
Well, I can attest that did not go over well. We did the live and local at Riverfest a couple of years ago. We did 3 years ago was the first, and it was the first iteration, and I wanted to change it up a little bit and made it all originals, which everybody was very happy to do. All Cheech and Andy and all of them were very happy to do it, but it just didn't translate past right, and it's hard for people to and everybody's got art is music and it's discretionary or objective and so people want to listen to cover bands. People love their music. They love what they know.
want to hear something they can tap their foot to and sing along with.
Right, and there's a place for the like the original art. I think, like if you heard somebody like like Matt Malin, for instance, he does that. He's got his band, the Handsome Animals, and I haven't seen them around in a while yet.
Matt's
But
been doing a lot of solo.
he has.
Yeah.
But and I used to work with him over at the radio station, and personal feelings aside, whenever I would listen to him play or watch him play, particularly original stuff, I mean, that's coming from a different place.
Yes.
And there's zero doubt, or you can't deny the talent that guy has. But if you're out and about and you're having a great party time and you're out with your friends, if you don't know where that depth of where he's drawing whatever it is he's
Right.
been writing on from, that can get a little heavy for when you just want to go out and have a good time.
Right.
So I would say there's a place for it, like in a club or whatever. If you're going there ready to kind of dig into some feelings. Or if I just want to go out and listen to, some yacht rock, if I just want to go out and have a good time, shout out to Ryan Torgerson, by the way, for the yacht
Slow
rock.
No Wait.
Is there like payola involved with that?
he did one of the earlier recordings with us here, so he came in and we plugged him. But.
We are doing a Winter Moon Tunes
Oh, yeah?
really?
February 29th with Riverfest Commodores.
Oh,
We've partnered with them. Moon Tunes is partnering with them. So we got Tug opening and Slow No Wait closing. So
Nice.
Very
It's
cool.
going to be a fabulous
Where are you doing that at?
February 29th at the Celebrations. At
Oh,
Shenanigans
sure,
on
sure,
French
sure.
Island.
Okay.
So
Nice.
Tickets are $30. You get 2 free beverages, or $50, 2 free beverages plus a dinner.
Nice.
I think it's going to be a huge break to the winter.
I love. Have you been there, Gus?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
what they've done there.
Yeah.
Just the way they built that up, and the wedding venue outside is pretty amazing.
And if they would like to be a sponsor of the
Absolutely.
Cultured Swine
Mr.
podcast,
Pataski, if you're listening.
speaking of sponsors, I totally forgot to do this at the top, and so we have a sponsor on the show.
Yep.
It's Christos Taverna. I should say, this is no way they're not endorsing your mayoral run.
They don't live in Alaska.
They don't live in
No,
Alaska, so. But our friends over at Christos Taverna, Robbie and Greg. Have you been in there, Terry?
I don't think I have.
You can get a chance to swing in there.
Right
They,
next to that foreign place, the gift shop
on
local
3rd Street
imported
over
wines.
here.
Mm-hmm.
It's owned by Robbie Wolf is her name, and her fiance Greg. He's from Greece, and Greg actually has the office right next door to us here. Great place.
Why would you leave Greece?
We wonder that all
It's
the
like
time.
a beautiful country.
He doesn't have. There's something wrong with him. Is the
Well,
thing.
he supports us, so
Yeah.
clearly there's something wrong with it.
See, we got our clocks up here. We've got an import-export business we're starting over here too, and we're doing stuff in Greece. So that's why we got the 2 clocks there.
You're doing olive oil? What are you
Olive
doing?
oil, wine, rice. We got a few irons in the fire here. Hopefully that'll be taken off here
You got
shortly.
some Greek dancing.
Heck yeah. We don't need to import that. We got that already. Also. Yeah. But,
Baklava?
Well, look at me.
Yeah. Anyway, our friends over at that foreign place and Christos Taverna on 3rd Street. It's a world away on 3rd Street is how we like to put it. Get away, go out, have a great night. They have one of the best happy hours in town. 2 for 1 house wines. Is that what
I believe
Allie
during
said?
happy hours,
During
yeah, 2 for
hour?
1.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's
say hi
good
to
stuff.
Allie. That's tell her we sent you.
Yeah, we don't have any kind of deal with them. If you mention the podcast, you get 10% off or nothing like that. But, mention it
They
and
won't kick
See
you
what
out.
they
happens.
won't kick you out. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
they'll shake your hand and salute you. So anyway, I just want to be sure we did that because a lot of people are probably going to listen to this one and we'll
Absolutely.
give them a shout. This has been awesome. I don't know. Is there anything else we need to cover? Anything you need to get off your chest? One last pitch, Terry.
Nope. I think I am smart enough not to open my mouth too much.
Well, I will give your website a plug. It's terrybauerformayor.com. You can get a yard sign. It looks like you can get 1 or 2 yard signs, depending on the size of your yard or the prominence of your lot.
Yep. And I've had several people already ask for signs.
Right. I saw my mother before I came down here. She works for a screen printing company. And she's like, well, if he needs signs, let him know. But I saw your website. Like, he's already got it covered, Mom. But nice. I got to give her credit for the plug. But, show your support. Get a yard sign. Check out the website. Check them out on Facebook. terrybauerformayor.com.
Are you going to the Chili Slam this weekend, Terry?
I'm going to try to get there. My grandson's coming down Friday night with my son
Okay.
for a basketball tournament. So I'll see how his game is, but I usually try to stop in.
I probably will have this edited and posted sometime tonight already. So people listening this weekend. Today is what, the 8th? This weekend, the 11th on Saturday, is the Chili Slam for the Beer by Bike Brigade down at the Lacrosse Center, and we're actually got a booth there. We're
Starts at 11.
at 11. Is it? Yeah,
Starts at 11. I thought it was 1.
It's 11.
Oh well,
I think it's 11.
we should.
Yeah.
You
should
better check that out,
probably
Dan.
check that.
I always come in late to the dance.
I know,
Well,
right?
I'm gonna have to edit my time.
I'm pretty sure it starts at 11, but check
Okay.
it out.
Yeah, that was like
That's
11
a
to
great
1 or something.
event.
Yeah, and it's huge this year.
Yeah.
The Cultured Swine is going to be representing. We're bringing our Drunken Swine chili that I make.
Secret sauce.
There's a lot of secret sauce in there. I'll tell you what, and it is a secret.
Are you bringing the heat?
I give
Not
a
too
little
much?
heat, not too much. I like it lets you know it's there, but it's not like a food challenge where you have to hype yourself up to eat it.
Yeah.
It is 11 to 2.
11 to 2. Okay,
Yes.
so
At the convention center.
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
Lacrosse Center
here, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah, so guys, be sure to come down and support that. Vote for the Cultured Swine. I have no shame. I will.
Yeah.
Bribes. I will. Whatever I need to do to win this thing, because they got a really
Free
cool
stickers with a vote.
free stickers with
Yep.
your vote. We got a spot on the shelf over here next to Lucky Cat. That's where we want to put our trophy.
Right
So,
next to your WBAs.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's so great of you to come, Terry.
Yeah, thank you.
Terry,
Thank you for the opportunity.
yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out for you. I think you'd be a good mayor. It'd be awesome to see somebody.
We have 4 good candidates. I think
Yeah.
the city would be well served. But
Good.
I think I would be the best if I could say so.
Well,
can say
you would
so.
hope so.
You
If I
just
don't
did.
believe it, I shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And once again, what was that website, Dan?
TerryBauerForMayor.com.
Okay.
And Facebook is Terry Bauer for Mayor.
Okay, at Terry Bauer. for Mayor.
Awesome. I always like to end the podcast on a
With a
very
song?
no on a positive note, and I tend to get a little verbose when I do it. So I think I found a way to distill my thoughts on being kind to people at the end of the podcast. And this is going to sound stupid, but the other night at the Golden Globes, Brad Pitt of all people had one of the best lines of the night, I think, and he said, tomorrow, if you have a chance to be kind to somebody, go ahead and take it, because you never know. And maybe that's how I'm just going to start ending these podcasts, where there's so much going on in the world today. We're all still neighbors, regardless of how we feel about each other, politically, personally. We're just monkeys on a rock trying to get through a few years here. So if you get a chance to be kind to somebody, go ahead and take that chance to be kind to somebody. This is the Cultured Swine. Mr. Terry Bauer, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Peace.